The Russian Revolution was a series of revolutions that took place between the late 1890s and the early 1920s. The revolution is mainly grouped into four main categories: the Revolution of 1905, the February Revolution, the October Revolution, and the formation of the USSR, with Lenin at the top in 1921. Let's talk a little bit about Russia's state of affairs prior to the revolution. Firstly, let's talk about how horrible it was. For example, feudalism was still a thing in Russia prior to the 1890s. However, the economy crashed so quickly in those years that they could no longer afford for it to go on, and all feudal arrangements were cancelled. This caused pretty much all of Russia to go homeless, hungry, and jobless all at once. The government, a Czar,
A Czar, you ask? What does that mean? Well, a Czar is pretty much the Russian version of a king or a queen, as the term can apply to either gender. The Czar is the head of the Russian government, known as a Tsarist government. Around this time, it was an absolute government, and the Czar who was running the country around this time was Nicholas II. He wasn't the best of leaders, as he let his country fall into shambles throughout the rest of his time as Czar, up until his execution along with his entire palace staff in 1918, and his family as well. Anyway, that's a Czar, and Nicholas II was Czar during this time.
Hello.
the Czar at that time was thrown into a frantic hustle to try and quell the many problems that started raising themselves at that time. Let's talk about a few of those for a second. First, there was the homelessness problem, which the government solved by giving the old manor lands from the lords of feudalism to groups of people. Basically, a land was given to a large group of people, and they had to keep that land, even if it was terrible farming land. This arrangement forced people to keep it, causing mass starvation, unemployment, and poverty. Lots of people died from the cold as well.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And now, on with the show.
Another thing that Nicholas did to try and improve the Russian situation was to increase education amongst the people. He made many child education reforms, and he also introduced many colleges and universities around Russia, which we'll focus on now. These colleges and universities gave the students much more freedom of speech to allow the pursuit of education. Instead, they used them to speak out against the government and try to strike for social reform. From the year 1889, there was a handful of demonstrations in a year, and they grew intensely until there were hundreds of strikes and demonstrations in 1904. The government saw these as a major threat and put them down with force, but it only fueled the people's resentment for the government. Finally, with a little bit of background knowledge out of the way, we can talk about the Revolution of 1905. The start of the revolution was a crowd of people outside Nicholas's palace, intending to deliver a petition to Nicholas, which pretty much said that the people of Russia were calling for a balance of his absolute power. The people got a little too close to the palace though, and the guards outside of the palace were ordered by the captain of the guard, Sergei Witt, to fire upon the crowd until they backed off. This caused the death of 200 to 1,000 Russians by the counts of Sergei, and the petition never reached Nicholas. This day would be known as Bloody Sunday, and it can pretty much be considered the starting point of the 1905 revolution. Anyway, the situation for the country just kept on getting worse, including the mutinies of many Navy ships returning from the Russo-Japanese War. These mutinies were caused by the frustration at how the government was handling the war, causing them to lose and force a treaty upon them. The government put down this through force though, killing the many Navy men that are part of the mutinies. This people's frustrations.
That seems to be a running theme here, isn't it? Nicholas's actions of putting down any rebellion with deadly force seem to make the people more frustrated rather than scared off and make them stop. It's probably because the nation was in such a state of utter chaos that they had nothing to lose anymore.
The next part of the revolution was a series of strikes and demonstrations in major cities outside government offices and railway stations. Heck, some were even so mad they got a bunch of people together and tipped a train off its rails and down a hill to a frozen lake. Those people had some pretty strong resolve. These revolutions became common around Russia, and it finally made Nicholas see that there was a problem. He allowed for the creation of a Duma, which is like the House of Representatives for the Russians, except they have no political power. They were there strictly as an advisory board for Nicholas to see how the people reacted to his decisions. He pretty much did this so the people of Russia would get off his back. And he had a hard enough time squandering them for his benefit. Fortunately, the people of Russia saw right through him, and they kept up with their campaign to hypothetically fight for the reform they desperately needed. There were many major demonstrations for the rest of the year, at least twice a month. And the campaign only got fiercer and fiercer until December of 1905, when Nicholas allowed the revolutionaries of the Duma to draft the Constitution of 1906.
The Constitution of 1906 was a document drafted by the House of Duma with a lot of revolutionary help. It pretty much outlined that Nicholas still had absolute power, except he didn't. The Constitution also outlined the creation of another house called the Council of State. It has a Russian name I can't really pronounce, and this is what they had on Wikipedia. So let's roll with it. The Council, the Duma, and Nicholas all need to agree on a law proposed by Nicholas in order for it to become a law. The rest of Nicholas's actions were pretty still free, such as taxes and military control. But that's not the end of it. The October Manifesto, written by Sergei Witt, was pretty much passing into law basic civil rights, the ability to form political parties, minor freedoms of speech and business. You know, the stuff a human should already have by default.
That pretty much concludes the Revolution of 1905. This is only a minor fraction of revolution itself, as the revolution is many other events that didn't cover overview. In fact, this pretty much scheme of happened. If you want to have more depth on what it actually happened, I recommend you check out Wikipedia page 1905 Revolution. Here's shortcut. Google the Russian Revolution, and when that posts up, there's link in 1905 Revolution page top. Then you will see that there is a very large amount of causes behind the revolution. Our short video hardly does justice. Anyways, that concludes presentation 1905 Revolution. We hope to work on next video soon, as you can get full video depth on the revolution and the rise of the Soviet Union into communism as a new government system in 1922. But till then, stay awesome and have a good day.